Well, Merv, you expressed pretty well how I was feeling. So it must be something in the spirit realm or something. When God usually gave me a word, He gave me a couple of days to digest it and flesh it out and fill it and think it through and get the details down, and then I presented it. So Benyo asked me yesterday if I have something to share, and I was like, nope, flat nothing. So then yesterday afternoon, all of a sudden I got this one weird revelation, and I'm like, oh man, am I supposed to preach on that? I don't even know if it's truth. I don't even know what that's new. I mean, am I supposed to preach something that's just brand new and I'm still trying to figure it out? But I guess. So this morning I studied it a bit more, and it kind of grew, and I think it'll do. But it's subject to, what's the word? Prophets are subject to the prophets, so we can use it as a starting point for further discussion if need be. So what inspired it was that I saw something on Facebook that someone that I admired posted, and I was like, what is he thinking? This is all right, this is nuts. What was he thinking? And after a while, Lydia says, why are you so upset about this? And I'm like, because I thought this guy had it together. And she's like, well, okay, are you following God or following man? And I'm like, I was like, well, I like to look up to people, and I like to be inspired by people, and so I was trying to figure out, something wasn't quite right there. Did I have him on a pedestal? Yeah, I probably did. Now when the pedestal crashed, it's like, oh no. And I know over the last couple of weeks, a month, I had repented for having a pedestal mindset where people are up here and I'm down here. That's got to go. But I was digging into this further, and I was trying to figure out what's going on, because usually if we have desires or emotions, or we have something going on in our life that's powerful to us, there's something deeper in there. The devil does not create anything, he only perverts it. So I was like, well, what's actually behind this? What's going on here? And I began to realize that I'm looking for, I guess the word I came up was looking for a hero, looking for a person who inspires me, a person who I can look up to. So I thought, okay, well, let me look into that. Let me find out why God gave us this desire to have heroes in our lives. My boys are at the age now where there's all kinds of heroes and superheroes and so forth, and I was like, what's up with this? It's like God wired us to have heroes in our lives, but this thing can go off the rails so quick. So I was like, okay, let me look into this, and I'll see if the Holy Spirit will reveal what's going on. So the definition of a hero is a person who is admired or idealized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. Synonyms are a brave man, a champion, man of courage, great man, man of the hour, conquering hero, victor, winner, conqueror, warrior, knight. Those are all good things. So how did this get turned into following man or a pedestal mindset? Obviously I know that it's not right to look up to someone and almost make, in a sort of way, a god out of him, but on the other hand, these are all good things. So what's the proper way for us to look at heroes? And being a millennial, I just went to Google, and why do we need heroes was what I typed in. So what came up on a secular website, of course, was they inspire us in a roundabout way. It said that it feeds our soul. It makes us come alive. It makes us feel good. It inspires us when we see a hero. One thing was they promote community, because when there's a strong person, it's usually a hero is looked up to because he protects people, he helps people, and he does amazing things for other people. So they actually can bring a community together. They help us change and overcome our missing qualities. I don't think there's anybody who fits a definition of a hero who hasn't overcome something in his own personal life. They bring justice to a broken world, and they help us overcome our fears, and they give us hope. So the Bible has heroes all the way through it. Hebrews 11 has been referred to as the Bible's Hall of Fame for faith. We can flip through Hebrews 11. We see Noah, we see Abraham, we see Sarah. We see the Apostle Paul writing about what these great people of faith all did, what they accomplished. This is one of my favorite chapters, but it speaks about these heroes. It says that even God himself, in a way, dare we say, admires them. It says, God is not ashamed to be called their God. We read through there, by faith Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, by faith Joseph, Moses. There's a long list of people in here, even some people who weren't necessarily even that righteous. We have a harlot in there, Rahab. And as Paul is going through that chapter, he has the same thing happen that happened to all preachers at one time or the other. He runs out of time. He says the time is too short to tell of Gideon, Barak, Samson, Jephthah, David, Samuel, prophets, who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouth of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword. And here's the thing that I see in all these people that we look up to. Out of weakness, they were made strong. And they all right, I'm not used to reading this in English. I memorized these chapters in German one time. It's kind of messing with me right now. What's that? Stark geworden in Streit. They became mighty in the battle that they were in. And they turned to flight the armies of the aliens. So far we've been talking about accomplishments in Hebrews 11. Now it says of some that may not have necessarily accomplished anything, but are still considered to be heroes. It says, others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection. Others had trials of cruel mockings and scourgings, yea, moreover of bonds and imprisonment. They were stoned, they were sawn asunder, they were tempted, they were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, and tormented. And it says, of whom the world was not worthy. I don't know what that means. It almost seems like these were people that were made for a better place. They wandered in deserts and mountains and dens and caves of the earth. And all these, it says, obtain a good report. And it also says that God provided something better for us. And as the people we look up to, the ultimate, where I soon came to was that the ultimate hero is Jesus Christ. When he walked this earth, the darkness had no chance. Wherever he went, there was healings, deliverance. He destroyed the works of darkness just wherever he went. He was a very amazing person. He and his heart was connected to people. We just heard a lot about the love that he had. For example, before he raised Lazarus from the dead, he wept with those that were mourning, even though he knew that Lazarus was awakening again. He had a heart that was connected to the poor, to the needy. He provided for the people around him. The food was multiplied, and the money showed up in the fish's mouth. The fish nets were filled up. There was abundance wherever he went. And he was a champion or an advocate for the poor, the downtrodden, and the hurting. For example, there, Zacchaeus, the woman at the well, the woman caught in adultery, they received grace at a time where they probably didn't expect it. He was able to reach through the walls that these people had put up, and he was able to bring healing and health to their souls and their minds. He was forgiving. He was not insecure in who he was and what was going on. When Peter denied him 3 times, Jesus forgave him. The Apostle Paul was persecuting the followers of Christ. I guess Jesus did knock him off his horse, but he experienced the forgiveness and the grace from Jesus. And also with wisdom, Jesus was able to beat the controlling Pharisees that they had their hierarchy, their system in place for generations, probably, I want to say hundreds of years. I'm not sure if I have something to back that up, but he was able to navigate through their system and just leave them speechless with his answers. He was able to navigate all the traps they set for him and just come through without any problem. And he always had an answer for questions. It doesn't seem like he was ever at a loss for words, and he was constantly speaking truth and bringing the light in. Also, a hero is not afraid to give his life. Ultimately, Jesus gave his life for us. As Isaiah 53 says, he was despised and rejected, a man of deep sorrows who was no stranger to suffering and grief. This is the Passion Translation. We hid our faces from him in disgust and considered him a nobody not worthy of respect. Yet he was the one who carried our sicknesses and endured the torment of our sufferings. We viewed him as one who was being punished for something he himself had done, as one who was struck down by God and brought low. But it was because of our rebellious deeds that he was pierced, and because of our sins that he was crushed. He endured the punishment that made us completely whole, and in his wounding we found our healing. So if we look at the life of Jesus, we see that he fits the whole thing of what we're looking for in a hero. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. Our hearts are made to hunger after God, to go after God, and to just meditate in who he is and what he is. But something still didn't quite seem complete there. I was like, yes, I totally 100% agree that Jesus was a superhero and that he was amazing, but something inside of me is still crying out for the manifestation of the kingdom in this time in our life. It felt like I'm looking for someone somewhere to... It felt like I'm looking for something in our time. So as I was thinking about that, it got really interesting. So Hebrews 11, we have all those people. And Hebrews 12 now goes on to say, wherefore, seeing we are also encompassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him that endured such a contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be wearied and faint in your mind. The next thing that came up is that heroes in our lives help us to become ones ourselves. When we're young, I believe that, and also when we're older, heroes can help us to dream, to imagine, to grow, to set goals. But what I finally found was happening was that, for example, this person that I had been disappointed in, as we talked about it and we looked into it, I began to realize where this person comes from, what he's seeing, what his calling in life is. And I began to see why he's saying what he's saying. And I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. But somehow he's still not quite as inspiring to me, and I realize it's because he has a different calling than I do. He has a different mission and calling than I do. Yes, I look at parts of his life and I admire it. But he's still not the hero that I'm looking for. And I began to think about this. I was like, well, okay, so Jesus is the hero. I want to see someone walking out the life of Jesus here on earth in my time. And I began to realize that it's going to look different. Different people have different assignments and different things to do in life, different ways of being equipped, different gifts. There's only one person on this earth in the flesh that has the gifts and the callings that I do, and the passions and everything set up to be the hero in my life, and that's me. One thing yet, that's Christ in us, the hope of glory. I mean, I was talking about a lot of things that are could be described as glorious, but if you read that where it says Christ in us, it's not just Christ, the hope of glory, or us, the hope of glory. It's Christ in us is the hope of glory. So that's where I arrived at.